Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the hidden corners of stories that shake the very foundations of trust, loyalty, and human nature. Here, we uncover the darkness that lingers behind polished walls, the betrayals that erupt within seemingly perfect families, and the secrets that refuse to stay buried. Today's story will take you on a journey of rage, grief, and haunting revelations, focusing on the inner turmoil of those forced to confront truths they were never meant to see. What lies ahead is not just a retelling of events but a descent into the fragile hearts of those who stand on the edge of ruin. Donnell placed the worn envelope onto the wooden table, his movements deliberate yet weighed down by the invisible pressure of all that it carried. The dim light above illuminated his face, showing the restraint of a man who knew exactly what would be unleashed once the seal was broken. It was not a simple letter. It was a vessel for a secret, one capable of unraveling not only lives but the fabric of the community they all called home. His hands tightened, his silence more oppressive than any words, as though he were trying to hold back an avalanche with sheer will. Across from him, Vanessa hesitated. Her body tense like a fragile wire pulled to its breaking point. Her eyes locked onto the envelope with dread, knowing instinctively that once she reached for it, she would never return to the same life again. Her fingers trembled as they brushed the brittle paper. A cold shiver ran down her spine, a premonition of the darkness that was about to unfold. She slid the letter out, the inked lines catching the light, the clumsy strokes carved with desperation. It was Doug's last testimony, scrawled not to comfort, but to warn, to haunt, and to wound. Each sentence cut her deeper. Doug's words carried the weight of suspicion sharpened into accusation. The accident that took him away was no accident at all. He believed someone close, someone trusted, had orchestrated every detail with ruthless precision. The letter was not a farewell but a dagger pressed into her heart, leaving a wound that could never heal. Her breath faltered, her grip tightening until the fragile paper nearly tore. Her chest heaved as if the very air around her had become poisonous. The revelation settled in like a curse. A name rose unbidden in her mind, a name that had always lingered in the periphery, wrapped in familiarity and trust, now transformed into a chilling omen. The realization drained the color from her face, and tears welled up, carving hot tracks down her skin. Yet, beneath the terror, something darker awoke. The first sparks of rage began to kindle in her chest. Rage at betrayal. Rage at the lies woven so skillfully around her life. Rage at herself for never seeing what was right in front of her. Donnell watched silently, his jaw clenched, his posture rigid. He recognized the shift in Vanessa's expression. The fear morphing into anger, the pain curdling into something far more dangerous. He knew this moment was inevitable, and yet, watching it unfold filled him with dread. By placing the letter before her, he had broken the fragile balance he had been maintaining, releasing forces he could no longer control. He wondered if he had done it to free her from the chains of ignorance or to rid himself of a burden too heavy to bear. The answer was lost even to him. The final lines of Doug's letter were not merely words but echoes of prophecy. He spoke of shadows moving in silence, of debts not yet paid, of truths that would demand more sacrifices before they were done. He left behind not peace, but an inheritance of dread, passing to Vanessa a fire she never asked to carry. In the days that followed, Vanessa became a hollow figure in her own home. Her movements were mechanical, her gaze restless. Every smile directed at her felt artificial, every touch of reassurance a lie. She saw duplicity in every corner, betrayal hidden beneath polished veneers. The name burned in her mind, relentless, a specter that followed her waking and haunted her dreams. But more frightening than the enemy she imagined was the transformation inside her. With each passing hour, the anger grew stronger, no longer restrained by fear. The thought of retribution coiled within her, fierce and unrelenting. Doug's death was not an end but a beginning, and now she was the torchbearer of his unfinished fight. Yet, she feared the reflection in the mirror, the woman she was becoming, hardened, ruthless, willing to risk everything for justice. Donnell carried his own torment. Though he had ignited Vanessa's awakening, he bore the guilt of having hidden the letter for so long. Each time he looked at her, he saw both accusation and expectation. He wondered if silence had made him complicit, if in protecting others he had condemned Doug. Now he too was trapped, unable to retreat into ignorance, forced to live with the consequences of unleashing a storm.
The mansion around them, once a sanctuary, now felt suffocating.
The luxurious walls were no longer protective but confining, echoing with unspoken accusations. Nights stretched endlessly as Vanessa sat in darkness, the letter clenched in her hand, her mind racing. Each word carved deeper into her soul, reminding her that the truth was not a shield but a blade. As the days bled into one another, Vanessa's resolve sharpened. She would not remain a victim. She would not allow Doug's death to be reduced to whispers and forgotten shadows. But to pursue the truth meant tearing down facades, exposing rot in the foundations of the community, and risking the destruction of everything she had known. She had to decide whether to protect the illusion of peace or to ignite chaos with the truth. Either way, she understood that she could no longer escape the path Doug had set in motion. Donnell knew she was standing at the threshold of no return. He saw it in her eyes, the decision forming, the fury hardening into resolve. He felt both fear and admiration, a recognition that she was becoming something more dangerous than any adversary could anticipate. The truth was a poison, but in her hands, it had become a weapon. And in that transformation lay the greatest danger of all. Because once she struck, there would be no undoing the violence that would follow. Betrayal had carved its mark into her soul, and now vengeance would guide her every step. The community beyond those guarded gates remained blissfully unaware of the storm gathering within. To the world, they were untouchable, a family of power, prestige, and influence. But within, the cracks had widened, and the darkness had already seeped through. It was only a matter of time before the shadows swallowed them whole. As night fell again, Vanessa sat alone, her tears dried, her fury alive. The letter lay before her, its edges frayed by her relentless grip. She placed her hand upon it, not as a mourner but as a soldier preparing for war. The silence of the room wrapped around her like armor, and in that silence, she made her choice. She would not look away. She would not forgive. And when the truth emerged, it would not simply burn, it would consume. This is the beginning of a path paved with fury, betrayal, and unrelenting conflict, where love curdles into vengeance and the weight of secrets crushes everything in their wake. What comes next will test not just hearts but the very soul of everyone trapped inside this gilded prison of lies. If you found yourself drawn into this descent into rage and shadows, stay with us. There is more to uncover, more darkness waiting to be revealed, and more battles yet to erupt. Do not miss what lies ahead. Follow and subscribe to our channel to continue this journey into the secrets that no one dares to speak aloud.